Hey, welcome everybody to the latest episode of Studio Spotlight 9. This one is super special to me. I've been working with our guest today, James Stephenson, on his not-for-profit organization, mystepdad.org. And I'm going to tell you, it's incredible. And I want him to tell you even more about what this organization is all about and probably the reason behind it. I'm going to turn the time over to you, Mr. Stephenson.
Thank you, Philip. I appreciate that, and I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to share a little bit more about my stepdad and kind of the story behind it and why I'm doing that. And I appreciate too your service in this as a board member, and also for creating this format and this opportunity to get not only this message out, but all the others of those that have been on Studio Spotlight 9 to this point. Let me start by just asking a question. Those of you watching this, if you were a boy growing up and your dad was not in your daily life, maybe in a divorce situation or whatever your family situation is, and your dad's not there or only there some of the time, how are you going to learn to be a man? How are you going to learn what it is that it means to be a man? Unfortunately, we're growing up in a time when there's a lot of that situation going on. Now, I just turned 56 last December, and so I'm a little bit older than a teenager growing up today without a dad. But that was the situation I was in years and years ago, decades ago, in fact. And I know firsthand what some of those challenges are. Let me tell you a couple stories. My mom raised 5 kids by herself. In fact, when her marriage was falling apart and dad moved out, I'm not even sure she knew she was expecting me at that time. So I might have been the last surprise of what was a challenging situation for her at that point, figuring out how to raise 4 kids by herself, then discovering, wow, there's another one on the way. And in fact, it was my uncle that drove my mom to the hospital for my birth because dad was already out of the house at that point. Well, mom did a fantastic job raising 5 kids by herself. And I know it was a challenge for her. She would take us somehow, miraculously, she would get us up and get us ready for church on Sundays, and we would go to church. Well, as a little boy and I need to go to the bathroom, mom would take me to the bathroom. Well, where would she take me? She'd take me into the women's restroom, right? She's not going to go in the men's restroom. So I learned to go to the women's restroom. That's where you went when you had to go to the bathroom. So the first time I was old enough to go by myself and mom wasn't there, I needed to go. Well, guess where I went? I went into the women's restroom. Well, there was a girl in the stall next to the one I was in, and I guess I was making enough noises that she could understand, recognized who I was. And she said, "Jimmy, you're not supposed to be in here." And I didn't know. This is the only place I've been. I discovered there was a men's restroom. Well, so I go explore this new environment that I learned about that was exclusively to men. And there's this weird thing on the wall. It's like, what is that? That is a weird looking sink. But I can't reach the handle to wash my hands in that, to turn the water on so I could wash my hands. I'd never seen a urinal before. I mean, those are some of the challenges that you have as a boy that are unique for a boy growing up when their dad's not there. And that's a little humorous. And there's a lot of practical challenges that come with growing up without having a dad as a boy, particularly. But the biggest challenge is wondering what is wrong with me that my dad would leave me. Now, that may not be unique to a boy. That's probably true for any kid growing up without both of their parents there. And, we have so much of it today that maybe that thought isn't as prevalent, but I really think it is. I know from my personal experience growing up, I thought, well, what kind of a husband am I going to be? Because I don't have an example to see how a husband interacts with his wife. What kind of a dad am I going to be? Because I don't have that example. The examples I had were friends' houses. So the Lundstroms were a really close family, second mother to me. Beverly Lundstrom was just like a second mom to me. We'd go to their house. I got babysat there officially, I guess, for some of the time. But most of the time I was just hanging out with friends because they had kids my age. Well, Joe, the dad, was he was an example. So I could observe what my friends' families were like and kind of get an idea. Well, Joe was rather to himself at home. Beverly was in charge of the kids, and when he came home from work, he would sit down and he was on the newspaper. He'd read the paper, watch the news, and that was it. So I would see that and see, okay, well, he's kind of standoffish. Maybe that's how, that's how dads are supposed to be. I don't know. This is what I'm observing. And I'm not even thinking these things at the time as a little boy. This is just what I'm observing. Well, I had some other friends that lived closer. They had a dad. His name was also Joe. And we did lots of fun things together. But this Joe dad, actually got involved with us. We'd play basketball in the driveway, and he'd be out there playing basketball with us when he could, not all the time. When he'd go play tennis, and he'd come with us and play with us too. And he'd engage and push his kids a little bit. And I noticed that. And so you're observing these things. Well, think about it. If you're a boy growing up without a dad today, unless you have a Joe Zavonik or a Joe Lundstrom or someone else to look up to, how are you going to figure out how you're going to be a successful dad, a successful husband, a successful adult male, particularly when you think of some of the messages in society today? They're not always, and often negative. They're not always positive, and they're often negative towards men in general. And if you're a boy growing up, well, that's what's going to happen to me. It can be a real challenge. Fortunately for me, I had a man by the name of Mark Gould come into my life when I was probably about 12 years old. And he was one of the adult leaders in the local youth group. We do fundraisers for our scout activities and things like that. He would pick us up along with the other leaders. It wasn't just him, but we go collect newspapers on Saturday mornings, the first Saturday of every month. Back then, that was a source of funds. We'd take them down to the recycle center to get paid, and they could use that money towards our camping trips and whatever else. Well, Mark was a part of that. But Mark did more than that. Mark opened up his home to me. I'd go over to his house on Sundays and watch football. We didn't watch football at my house. I learned about football at Mark's house. He'd make snacks. I could basically go to his house whenever I wanted to, and he would open his doors to me. When he'd go camping, he'd take me with him. When I needed to change my mom's brakes, I didn't know how to do that. He knew how to do that, and he actually came over to our house and showed me how to do that. The process, I cut my thumb really badly, and he probably worried about that a little bit, but he was there showing me how to do it. But one of the most important things Mark Gould did for me was to chew me out. And I say that because there were a couple of times I needed to be chewed out. There was one time in particular, one of my friends was really into the rock group Kiss, and they were coming to town. The Kiss concert was coming, and boy, he was going to go for sure. And I kind of wanted to go with him, and I mentioned that to Mark Gould. Well, Mark was not a fan of the rock group Kiss. And Mark told me, looked me in the eye, said, Jimmy, if you go to that concert, I'm going to come down there. I'm going to find you. I'm going to drag you out of there. I'm going to kick your butt all the way home. I told my friend, who was the fan of Kiss, what Mark Gould had told me. And he said, man, I would be so pissed if he said that to me. Well, to me, Mark couldn't have shown me love any better than telling me he would come and drag me out of there. That is the most important thing that Mark Gould did for me. He loved me. When you're growing up without a dad, and particularly as a boy, there's a hole in your heart and in your life. Acceptance and love from an adult male is a big missing link in life. And if you look at what's going on with family today, if you look at who's populating prisons and shootings and suicides, and I hate to get to those negative things because that doesn't want to be my focus, but that's actually the results of what happens with our society when boys don't know how to become men successfully. Well, Mark was a good example for me. Back in about 2015, I kept having this idea that I need to pay Mark's kindness forward. In 2015, I reserved a domain name that you see on the screen now, mystepdad.org. And all the time in the background, what can I do? I can make some videos for boys to help them learn how to be a man. I mean, show them stuff. I've got videos out there now, and the channel's really only been going for about a year and a half. Actually started it 2 years ago in July. I at least started finally making videos, even though I reserved the domain name back in 2015. But all the time I'm doing this, I'm trying to build my other business as well, leaving the world of full-time employment, but continue to feel the drive that, I can help boys because I've been there and I know what they're going through. At least from my generation, I know what they're going through. I don't think the emotions have changed, though the environment has, and it's probably gotten even more challenging. So I started making videos, how to shave, how to not pee on a toilet seat. I've got things too that aren't stereotypically, male, like how to cook. I've got a whole bunch more I'm going to do as well. And my kids have helped me with some of these too, how to change the oil in a truck. I let my son do that because I take mine to the service center to do. Fixing the lawnmower, or changing the oil in the lawnmower, things like that, where they can learn some of those skills. But in every video, I like to leave them with two messages, and these are those two messages. You can succeed even though your dad may not be in your daily life. And the second one is that your stepdad loves you, because that's what they need more than anything. That's what I needed. That's what Mark and other adult men gave me back then. Well, that's the long version of what my stepdad is about. And I thank you for listening to that and understanding more about that. I would like to invite you to do three things. The first one is, if you know of a boy growing up without a dad in his daily life, then take him under your wing. Sometimes he may just want to ramble on and on about his favorite video game or whatever else. If you're in a position and you're such that you can, give him the love of listening to what's going on to him. That will do more in his life, and you'll probably feel a lot better too, even though you may be thinking of other things you'd rather do. But if there's a boy that you know of that's growing up without a dad, or a child growing up without a dad, then show them a little bit of extra love, attention, and concern. They need to feel love from other adults. The second request I would have is go to the YouTube channel. You can see the address on this screen. These are videos I'm making with an iPhone and iPod, and sometimes I have one of my kids helping me film or the activity or not. These are not high-end professional productions yet. But go to the channel, check them out, like videos, subscribe to them, subscribe to the channel if you would. That will help get the reach out more to those boys that would actually resonate with the channel, with the message, with the love that I'm frankly trying to share with them. And the third thing would be this. If you're in a position to support financially, then you'll see a donate button on this post when it's done. There's costs involved with this besides my time, and I love doing this. I would do this full time if I could. But the costs involved for hopefully some upgraded equipment, it costs me $25 an episode to edit. I'm trying for 2 of those a week, and right now that's been self-funded. So anything, if you resonate with this message or this mission, then I would invite you to support it financially through that donate button. Thank you for listening to the story of mystepdad.org. And again, invite you, if you know a child, a boy in particular, if you know anyone that's growing up without a dad, please give them a little bit extra love, help them have some encouragement, help them know that they can succeed. It is going to be harder. There's no question it is. But they can succeed and they are loved. That is the message of mystepdad.org. Thank you.
Oh, man, James, that was awesome. And I know I had a fairly unique opportunity here. You were in my backyard Friday.
Yeah.
We were filming, 2 episodes for this. So I look forward to being able to see those. I think it's going to be super fun. And
well, can I piggyback off that for just a second? I mean, impromptu, I asked you, Philip, because we were filming an upcoming video for the channel. And while we were waiting for the coals to heat up, and tell me what your challenges were, and you did. And one of the first things you said, unprompted, was just knowing that you have worth and that you're loved. And even though your dad's not there, I mean, that's a common feeling, that there's like a part of you is missing. And more particularly, something is probably wrong with me because my dad left me.
Yeah.
And that's just a horrible thought that is, I think, systemic or very common for boys, particularly growing up without a dad, kids in general, I'm sure. But that is the biggest challenge to overcome. At least it was for me. You said it first thing as well. I would love to be able to change that as early as possible in the minds of any boy that might be growing up without a dad.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love how you were able to share, how you had, somebody there that kind of helped you at least some along the way, and I had the same. I had my grandfather around, but he was, 60 years older than I was.
Yeah.
That, disconnect there, but absolutely, that was a very valuable thing
Yeah.
for me. And when I was growing up, did I know how to do everything? Nope. And I still don't. But I did know one thing, that despite the fact my dad wasn't there, that, when I grew up to be a man, I could never do that to my kids.
Mm-hmm.
And I know you have felt that exact same thing. Like,
Mm-hmm.
there's no way.
Mm-hmm.
Not, just not
Yeah.
going to happen. And can you share some of the things that, like some of the topics we've had in some of the videos?
Yeah. I mentioned some of them in there. A lot of them I just share a message while I'm shaving in the morning, and it seems a little awkward. In fact, I started tapering down those until someone made a comment that, man, I love these. They're so down to earth, and so okay, well, I can keep doing that. So a lot of the messages are just something that I'm currently experiencing that I think I can relate to a boy growing up without a dad. But the actual videos we've done, I mentioned oil change on a truck. Changed the oil in the lawnmower. I got one on repairing a weed whacker. The handle trigger broke. We taped one for fertilizing the lawn that will be coming out. I've done some on cooking oatmeal mush. I got one coming out this week or next on making cookies from a mix. How to do dishes was one, and I'm an OCD guy, so they get more info than they want on as far as that goes. Cleaning a garage, just whatever I happen to be doing, cleaning out the rain gutter. I did a preview on the natural gas system in the house, and how to turn off and start the water heater, a gas water heater, so things of that nature. And they're not necessarily traditional male-female role things, but if I'm doing something and I think it would benefit them to know about it, then I'd love to grab the camera and shoot a video for it if I can.
Absolutely. I find it interesting how, some of us, because I know you and I are similar in that, our dad was never really there at all.
Mm-hmm.
I never met mine. Yours was about the same age. Just like, I'm out of here. It was some of the, like, I know you and I have talked before about things. I
Mm-hmm.
really enjoy cooking. I do personally. Like, it's so I don't think that's something. Is it maybe stereotypically in the past different? Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't make me less of a man that I love it. Like, like it's creative for me.
Well, my goal is to help them be confident as they grow into manhood, whether that's how to cook, how to iron a shirt, or how to mow a lawn, or start a lawnmower, or buy a car or a truck. What to do when you get pulled over, whatever it might be. I haven't shot that one yet. I wasn't fast enough on the camera. But I'm not sure the cop would have appreciated that either. But anyway,
you had some very different videos on there too. I mean, you had one where it featured your friend that you've known for quite a while. That was an astronaut.
Oh yeah, flying with he was my former boss or my boss's boss, but he's an astronaut and a pilot, of course, and a very kind man. It's honor just to know him. But I asked him, hey, can we shoot a video of flying? And so we did. We went up, and I had two of my boys in the back seat of his plane. They were running the cameras, and I guess I might have had one too, and did that one. So that one was pretty cool. That was fun. Shaving a cat, that's the big one. I would have never known though. The cat shave video holds the record. It's approaching 4,000 views at the moment.
So
But, whatever.
the popular one. But I mean, maybe sometimes that's what people really need sometimes is not, and I'm not like every video you've made has a value and, teaches something. But maybe sometimes with the shaving the cat one, I personally don't have a cat and I'm not going to, I don't want anytime soon. But it's something where, say one of these boys has had a bad day or something. They
Uh-huh.
watch that one and they might go, hey, this is kind of humorous, and it kind of lightens that.
Yeah. Well, the animal rights people aren't so fond of that one, but I get a couple of comments from them. That's traumatic for the cat. That's okay. It's more traumatic if I leave him locked outside forever because he's shedding on my couch. But
That's totally fine. He was in your office there before we started going live.
yeah, he's doing fine.
Seems like he still wants to come in and have some treats.
Yeah.
So,
well, Philip, thank you again for creating this platform and inviting me to participate. I appreciate that, and I appreciate the chance to share more about the My Stepdad channel. And for anyone watching this either live or on the replay, if you want to subscribe, that would help grow the channel, help promote it a little bit more, share it with those that you know, invite others to subscribe to the channel and share it with the kids they may know that are growing up without a dad. That would be fantastic.
thank you for sharing so much, James. Thank you for being here. I want to thank everyone for watching. I usually end Studio Spotlight 9 about the same way, but I want to do it a little bit different today. So I want to thank everyone for being here. And as at the end of every video you make, what are the 2 messages?
2 messages are: you can succeed even though your dad may not be in your daily life. And the second one is that your stepdad loves you. And Philip and I will see you on the next Studio Spotlight 9 video then.
Yes, we will. A great day, everybody.